Good evening. Welcome to the January 13th Township Board meeting, starting at 7:05. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, I know we have a couple of deletions to the agenda, and what we need for item number 1 and number 2, we have to do this separately. So if I can get a motion to delete action item number 3, please.
Motion?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and number 2, same thing for deleting action item number 7.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Okay, very good. Those are through, so we're going to delete number 3. Let me put that, I've got that down here. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I did say action item number 7. It's consent agenda. Brian, what would you like me to do? That's my mistake. I did say, I believe I said it.
Well, so it looks like you said you would just make a friendly amendment, but the consent agenda number 7 is actually the Recreation Commission appointment, so I think you're deleting an item from the consent agenda that wasn't on the consent agenda. So I think that whole motion is.
Well, that's a different one. So we were deleting 7, but we're moving it to an action item then, and we don't need a motion for that. So we'll make that number, let's see what we're doing.
So we're deleting the surplus.
Yep.
But consent agenda is the appointment.
Correct.
Number
For
7.
the recreation appointment.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you just need someone to ask to have it moved to the.
We do that. Kevin has asked me to move actually 3 of them. We don't need to make a motion for that. So what we're going to do, we will move from the consent agenda. We're going to move number 4. We're going to remove number 5. And we're going to remove 6 from the consent agenda to the action items. And then the action items will be number 4, number 5, and number 6. Are we square on that, Brian?
Kevin, I thought you wanted the commission appointment moved.
Yes, please.
Okay.
No, that's,
Yeah, the commission appointment
Number 8.
on the,
move to the action item. Yes, the
Okay.
number 6 is going to be moved.
That's number 7.
Jeez. Number 7 will be moved. But it becomes 4, 5, and 6, Jameson, is what I'm
But
saying.
you said we're moving 4, 5, and 6 from the consent agenda, which is grant policies and procedures, Huntington
Okay.
Bank commercial card, and the RICO contract.
Okay?
Do you still want to move the RICO contract?
yes,
To the.
So you
action
want to
item.
move consent agenda items 4 through 7 to the
Action
action
items.
items. And they would become 4 through 7.
Correct. Right
Okay.
there. That's what I have.
Okay.
We all set? I apologize for that. We're square on that. And those do not need a motion. Okay. We do have a presentation tonight, the Downtown Development Authority. Ross is the DDA director. We have to,
We have to vote on it.
all right, hold on one second, Ross. So I do need to approve the agenda as presented, as amended. I need a motion.
So moved?
Second?
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, passed. All right, sir, it's all yours for the presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the DDA in request for an interdepartmental loan for the construction of Lions Park. And this request is contingent on an approved grant award. I'll be sure to get into that later. So a little bit of background. As part of the DDA's mission to revitalize Macomb Street, the DDA purchased the vacant lot on Lyons and Macomb in 2009 in the amount of $70,000 for the purpose of a pocket park. In 2022, the DDA contracted with Wade Trim for landscape, architecture, and engineering services. The final product was the result of public input through the DDA's 2020 master plan process, as well as input from the DDA board. The DDA has an opportunity to fund 50% of the total costs of the project through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and their grant program, Revitalization and Placemaking grant, which is due January 30th. The DDA will be applying for this grant for a third time, so we've really been pursuing this grant opportunity, where we are requesting $500,000. To increase the chance of success, the DDA is requesting a loan of up to $300,000 from the Township Board to showcase that the project has committed funds and demonstrated local support. If approved by the board, the loan would be contingent upon an awarded grant. So why Lions Park? The DDA's mission is to grow, strengthen, and promote the economic health and vitality of Macomb Street. As part of this initiative, the DDA hopes to develop Lions Park into an intergenerational community gathering space. The site will provide the opportunity to host township-held events, provide a space for Grosse students to gather after school, and provide access for seniors to rest while strolling Macomb Street. The space was intentionally designed to serve as a gathering area where islanders of all background can come together and connect with one another. A gathering area in the heart of our business district will increase foot traffic and therefore providing an economic benefit to surrounding local businesses. And this is meeting the needs of our community. During the 2024 master plan process, where we were engaging stakeholders, when we asked what areas of the island they would like to see improvements, 53% of islanders wanted to enhance our park and recreation opportunities. 30% of islanders wanted more recreation for the youth, and 26% of islanders want a thriving business district. So this is a part of that. And here's some some quotes from folks at round table discussions. They want less vacant buildings and more areas for kids to run around, and for parents to sit and drink a beverage or get a bite to eat and watch their kids play. And another individual said that Macomb Street needs rejuvenating. There's nothing there right now to make me want to spend time other than visit specific businesses. So these are some of the things that we'll be pursuing through event programming that will bring the community together. And it's four seasons a year. So in the spring, we got our farmers market. We'll have a concert series, a spring art fair, fitness classes that we could work with the recreation department on. In the summer, we have Island Fest, summer concerts again, movies on Macomb, food truck rallies. In the fall, we have Paint the Town Red, the Halloween parade, Ladies Night Out. And in the winter, we have Island Glow. We could do things like snowman building contests, winter markets, and there's discussion about an ice rink on Macomb Street too. So that'd be a great opportunity for that. So this is sort of the overview. I'm sure you guys have all seen this, but this is sort of the current rendering that we have. We're working on updating this with our consultants. We are just tweaking a few areas here, but you can see there's plenty of places for you to sit and rest and hang out with one another, or and we have a wide open lawn for our for many events, for concerts, for kids to just run around, and for our summer markets. And I want to show you this too. So there's some things that are changing here, but what I really wanted to emphasize is that we are also proposing a crosswalk enhancement across Macomb Street and across Lions. Right now, kids leaving the high school or middle school who go to Macomb Street, they can't safely cross the street on Macomb, and there's no curb cuts on the other side. So we will be adding ADA compliant crosswalks and curb cuts, and also installing flashers to let folks know that kids will be crossing the street. And it just helps create that circulation, that pedestrian circulation that we'd like to see in downtown areas. So this is our character image board. It's sort of the look and feel of Lions Park. We got the pergola here with folks sitting underneath it. We got our, the open markets right there up in the top right. I'm not sure if my cursor's showing up. It is. And some lawn seating and some folks sitting underneath the tree. So that's the kind of the image. So what has been done since 2009, since we acquired this? This is a picture from 2015, and this is what it is today. We've invested over $200,000 into this park. It doesn't look like it, but all the eligible costs that go towards this grant, including acquisition, landscaping over the years, benches and trash receptacles that we've installed, the GI sculpture, the sidewalks, and including the engineering and architecture. So all the professional services that go into constructing a park like this is included in the total cost. So what will be done? We'll be installing a pergola, a community sculpture wall that will be finished next year. We'll also be installing landscaping and irrigation, which includes removal, installation, restoration, concrete foundations and community sculptures, public Wi-Fi so that kids can, anyone that wants to sit at the park can be on their laptop. They can go get food from the bakery, stop over, eat their food, do a little bit of work. That also offers the opportunity to, stream movies online for kids as well. Benches, tables, chairs, trash cans, and bollard lighting. We have pavers for seating areas, ADA enhancements, bike racks, dog waste stations, drinking fountains as well. And the cost for this phase is $633,000. So we've previously invested $208,000. The 10% contingency and the 15% of engineering and architecture, the total asking price, the total price is just over $1 million. Oh, gotta go back. So about the RAP grant. So MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, partners with local communities to proactively address revitalization needs by investing in projects that promote tax revenue growth. These investments help create the environment necessary to attract and retain talent and enable business creation and attraction. So components of a successful application includes broad support. We've gotten support from the schools, from the Recreation Commission, and a few senior living facilities on Macomb Street. These are just letters of support. Contribution to vibrancy and economic growth. So it's sort of, speaking to the economic impacts of a public park in a downtown area. The location must be in a downtown area. Evidence of funding commitments. So that's where we are requesting this $300,000 on top of the tax increment financing that the DDA collects. And then the project status and site readiness. The project must be shovel ready, and it is. We've completely engineered this park out. We have all the consultants lined up to get to work. It's just a matter of RFPing and getting this out there. And it needs to be universally designed. That means people of all abilities can access the park and utilize the park, which they can. Project schedule and timing, and this is another important aspect of this request, that the project must be completed by June of 2027. And so that the request really helps us get to that mark. And then the use of space by small business operators, like farmers markets, four-season programming, and cultural and social engagement. So this is just sort of a tentative payment schedule and how the award is structured. So RAP grants are dispersed on a reimbursement basement in two segments. 50% of the award is dispersed when the applicant has expended funds for costs equal to 100% of the award amount. So once you spend $250, we're asking for $500,000. So once we spend $250,000, or once we spend $500,000, we get $250,000 back. And the remaining 50% of the award will be dispersed after the project is complete. The applicant expends funds 200% of the award amount. So hypothetically, to this, in 331, we've invested $208,000. We're awarded the grant in 430, and then on 512 at that township board meeting, hypothetically, the $300,000 would be dispersed to us, and then we would spend $500,000, where we would then receive $250,000, and then The remaining $750,000, after the $750,000, DDA would utilize our TIF funds to get to that complete $1 million mark, and then we're reimbursed $250,000. I know there's a lot of back and forth there, which I can clarify afterwards, if needed. And this is the tentative DDA loan payment schedule. The life of the DDA goes until 2032, so we would ask to repay that loan over a period of 7 years. And at a 5% interest rate, which I believe, Teresa, that's about right. So we would be paying the township back at $364,000 in 2032. So how this loan helps the DDA? Project timing. It'll ensure that we complete the project by 2027, June of 2027. Evidence of funding commitments. The loan will provide evidence of diverse funding sources that will not exhaust the DDA's budget. And then local support from the board will prove that the township is an advocate of the project. And then budget. The loan will provide the DDA with the opportunity to continue our initiatives of revitalizing Macomb Street by minimizing impacts to our budget. And that's all I got. I'm sure there will be questions.
Any questions from the board for Ross?
Spending $1 million, or does that take into account the grant?
Yep.
And what's the total cost of the project?
So to us, it would be $500,000 because we will be receiving $500,000 from the state.
She means, what's the total cost as a whole? It'd be $1 million.
Yeah, the total cost is,
A little bit over. If you take everything into consideration, grant.
yep, it's $1 million. Yep,
Then it's a little over $1 million.
correct. Projected.
And it is a $500,000 grant?
Yes.
I thought I heard 300,000, maybe I heard
Well,
wrong.
that's the ask.
They're asking for the loan of 300 from us, from our revolving loan fund.
So DDA is paying DDA is paying $500,000, but with $300,000 of it being a loan and another $500,000 from the grant, with $200,000 already invested in Lions Park. So total Lions Park renovation, $1.2 million.
$1 million.
Little
Well,
over
1.2. Well,
With the money you've already spent on the park.
right.
Yes.
The
So
level of investment in the community is $1.2 million.
level of investment is $1 million.
Okay. Okay.
Because we spent $200,000, but you ever see like those funding thermometers where we're at $200,000, and once then we have $800,000 to go, but that $200,000 that counts towards the million. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all
I'm
in
picking
is
what
1
you're
million.
All in is 1 million.
And then you told me today DTE donated 4,000.
Correct. And
But are there any other grants like that you got?
then we got a $12,000 grant for the community sculpture wall
From,
from the Michigan Arts and Council Commission.
okay, just want to make sure that we thank them.
So in addition to the 300K for this project, you're also gonna be asking for 70K a little further in, and I know I'm going ahead, but I'm just saying, so we're talking more than 300K as a loan at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And the other thing I get that's
Be
totally
separate,
separate,
yep.
I get that. All I'm saying is, we have to, I think, at least I feel, I have to look at the whole big picture. That's why I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Yep.
Like, I'm looking at what will be done, and I'm just wondering, do you have, okay, this is our prime, this is what we'd really love to have.
right.
Do you have, if we can't have this, do you have another, like, do we really need another, are you guys really doing another GI?
No, a community
As-
sculpt. No, that's so we're doing a community sculpture in the back.
Right.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have like separate sculptures throughout. So it's like throughout the path there will be separate sculptures as well.
So $80,000 worth of sculptures, did I
And-
look at that correctly?
Yep, and concrete foundation. So that's also concrete miscellaneous concrete. That's also for the crosswalks, the foundations of all the sculptures, and the foundations for the bench, trash, and tables and chairs.
Okay, because I think initially, was it just the 80, it was 40 and 40 for two sculptures, yes,
Correct.
okay, I'm not,
Yep.
okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't off on that.
Right. Yeah. We've been working with our
You've
engineers.
tweaked this a bit.
We've been
Okay.
tweaking it along the way. This is the final one.
This is
So-
your final.
correct.
The
Yes.
others, you had your options, okay. got
Yeah,
it,
where
right.
it was up to 1.2, and then now we've lowered it. And I think what's another aspect here is, the minimum grant that they'll award is $500,000.
Okay.
And so therefore the project needs to be $1 million. So that's why we've kind of really increased this. So yes, this is our primo top, what our best ask that we could get. We will continue to, if we don't get this award, if we don't get the grant, or if we don't get the loan, what have you, we're still going to continue to piecemeal Lions Park out. It might take 7 years or what have you, but we will continue to chip away at it. I'm just doing my due diligence here.
Yep. And you guys have done studies to, how much benefit will this park actually provide to the businesses on Macomb type of thing?
We will. So in our grant application, we've contracted with Smith Group, and they're going to be able to provide that data for us. I mean, I just don't have that data accessible to me.
Okay.
Where they do. So we will be providing those metrics in our grant application.
Okay.
But speaking to the impacts of public parks, I think we all love parks, right? Everyone utilizes parks, especially in the downtown area. People do gather. We use it. We would utilize it for a lot of our community events where we just kind of can't at the Commons. It's a very confined space.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is just another addition to reinvesting and revitalizing vacant lots on Macomb Street.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? I have one thing, but if anybody else has something? Nothing? Kevin, go ahead. You go ahead before me.
The money that the grant, assuming you get the grant, is that money able to be used anywhere else besides?
It has to be just for the project-specific site. So, and
And it is specific to that site, that basic address, that corner.
correct.
Period,
Because
right?
because we show that we own this site. That's in Township. Township owns the site, and this is exactly what we plan to do with this. So
So it cannot be used, so people know on the board too, it cannot be used, let's say, they want to do something up and down Macomb Street,
Correct.
different now.
correct.
It is site-specific, period.
And that's with within the guidelines of this grant. It needs to be a specific site. It's not a long range redevelopment of adding more lights to Macomb Street or adding landscaping along Macomb. It's just it needs to be a specific site.
Okay.
Uh,
Keep going.
So will we have another opportunity to ask questions about the specifics of the park going forward?
Yeah, I think that at the next board meeting, it will be in front of you guys to formally vote on, and that's just because the application is due at the end of this month on the 30th. So I'll attend that meeting for any questions.
But you can always come in if you have time.
Yeah, of
I
course.
sat with Ross for an
Yeah.
hour. He went over this with me just to give me, it wasn't the Cliff Note version, it was the version of even what was going to be put in.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I just would suggest anybody on the board, if you have half hour, Ross can go over the program with you in more depth.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
The other people in the community have been asking about some kind of recreation playscape for the, I guess, younger kids. Does this, so this doesn't take into consideration?
This rendering was done just as I was starting, and this is sort of what the DDA came up with at that point and back in 2022. We're very much aware that we are in need of a playscape, especially on Macomb Street, and the recreation department of the DDA have been working a lot to try to make that happen. We've tried land swaps. We've worked with business owners on Macomb, or landowners on Macomb to purchase property. unfortunately, that price keeps on going up and up and up, and that's something that we can't afford. So, and I know that that might be coming up. That might be an ask from the recreation department in the future, perhaps. Yeah, we are very much aware of that, and we're trying very hard to make that happen. And ideally, the playground would be across the street from Lions Park in the future.
So the other question is, have you looked at your design to see if there are places where you can make any economies? I've heard people in the community say that's a big investment in a smaller sized lot.
Right.
Are there possibilities of making this a little bit less expensive?
Yeah, I think getting back to Margaret's and mine discussion, we will, if we don't get this, we will continue to chip away at it, and I'm sure that it'll, once it's completed, we will still have many of the elements that exist there, but it will be at a lower cost. Like maybe we won't have the two other sculptures, and we won't have the public Wi-Fi, and we won't have, the irrigation system, we're going to need, but some of those things we're going to have to pick and choose, or different landscaping elements we'll have, as opposed to, our $80,000 projected.
Have we asked people in the community, residents, if they would like to sponsor particular artwork?
We have not. That's something that we would like to do. We tried coordinating that initially. We've had ideas. We've had discussions with our public art consultant. Actually, I did a fundraiser. It was a matching fundraiser for the murals on Macomb Street, and we really didn't get a lot of traction in the community. I made a lot. We posted in the Grosse Now, posted everywhere, and we didn't get a whole lot of reception. So, ideally, that would be great. It's just a matter of finding those connections, finding those community members that are willing to donate their money and to sponsor a piece. So,
I know that you have had people sponsor, I think, seating, the benches and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Jameson had something.
So thinking about spending $1 million on a public work in Grosse, there's a lot of competing priorities, right? Like the marina could use $1 million, Centennial Farms could use $1 million, the airport could use $1 million. I think what's unique about this opportunity, and I think it's good that you're structuring it as a loan to DDA instead of a general fund expenditure, because those are dedicated funds. So arguably, this isn't, maybe the math is a little funny, but it isn't costing the township $1 million. It's costing the Downtown Development Authority $1 million. And I think, generally speaking, anything that's good for Grosse businesses is a good thing, right? I'm pro-development in that regard. I did want to mention, I know the Playscape got brought up, and Margaret and I did talk about it the other day, and we're trying to figure out some things to maybe come up with a Playscape along Macomb somewhere. I think the public Wi-Fi is a great idea. In fact, I think Grosse should have whole island Wi-Fi.
Very expensive.
Yeah, it's also very cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, maybe that's a pipe dream.
Yep.
I'm not crazy about all the sculptures and stuff. I don't know about that. Maybe that's a efficiency we can find, but I think it's a good thing. So, that's my thoughts on it.
I have one more question. Yep. This might be a dumb one. I've never understood the purpose of a pergola. I'm being serious. They don't make sense. Yeah, they don't make sense to me. But whatever floats your boat, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
what is the purpose of a pergola? I've always
valid
really
question.
wanted to know.
I do not have an answer, but I think it looks nice.
Oh no, I think they look cool. I just look at them and go, yeah.
Actually, on some of them, what they've used them for is they put a nylon, very thin coating over the top, and it gives you an area of out of the shade, but you still get full lights. I'm sorry, an area in the shade, but you still get full lights like you see them at resorts. That's what sometimes they're used for. Now with the open tops, that's more art as opposed to function.
Right.
And
Well, if
that's as far as I know. That's all.
get approved for the loan, we will look into the cost of
That's
adding
what it
that.
does, is it gives you shade without and it keeps the light, and it's more of the. I'm not, believe me. So,
I'm definitely
I have
not.
just a couple things, if it's okay.
Yep.
I have two questions, but let's first talk about, Teresa, do you want to talk about the money question? And I have the second one is, I think it's important, Ross, being a new board and the people listening, that we have an interdepartmental, if you want, loan program fund, if you will, where the township will give a loan to, say, the police, the fire, the airport, the rec, the whatever, and then there's negotiated amount of interest, and then we get paid back and so on. And what this does is it helps each department. So if you could just spend half a minute on just explaining that program, because I think we're all, all the new board members may not know that we have that this just isn't, asking out of the general fund, but then also there's a question there's a question of the money issue that was mentioned here. So could you talk about both?
Okay. So we do have a separate fund called the revolving loan fund. Originally, that money did come from the general fund. It's been used over the years to help other funds with special projects. From an accounting perspective and the requirements under generally accepted accounting principles, that revolving loan fund, when our financial statements are done, that revolving loan fund and the cash and the loans are and the fund balance are combined with the general fund. So if you look at our most recent audit report, we had a fund balance in the general fund of over $3 million. 1.3 million of that was actually from the revolving loan fund. So that is part of the general fund. The cash what makes up the fund balance is the cash that's been collected over time with the most recent loans and the loan balances. So at any time, the cash can be transferred back to the general fund, and it is part of the general fund. It just can be accounted for in our records separately.
Thank you. I just wanted the people to know also we do have a separate fund. It has been used, and we have used it to help out departments. So, anything else for Ross tonight? Sure.
So Ross, if I understand, we're really spending $500,000, and that, because the other part would be the grant, and the $500,000 being DDA funds. The use of those DDA funds are limited, right, for Macomb?
Correct.
So it's a good way to get at those funds and do something that's nice for the full community?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it helps free up our budget so where we can still continue maintenance, revitalizing certain areas, our mural program or our arts program, and providing DDA grants to small businesses to improve their structures. So, looking at our budget, even though we have that other loan that's at a further action item down the road, we still could support our existing functions while improving Lions Park.
But those are like, when you think of budget, those are like a chimney, right? They can't go for anything else. It's
Yeah.
locked into the DDA.
Correct.
And if we didn't get the grant, we'd be cutting back to $500,000 or less anyways, because we wouldn't have the grant funds.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You said, sir.
All good. Oh,
Got another one.
So, and I'm repeating things I've heard from community, people that live in the community. And the word they're using is, this is a gold-plated park. And the way I hear that is, they feel that we're spending a lot of money in one location. And when we add up the cost, is it $500,000 minus the 200 that's already been put in? So is it 700,000 that the township is going to spend?
no, it would be $300,000. So it's a 50% grant, right? The grant funds 50% of the cost of the project. So really, in reality, the township will be spending $500,000, but we just have to spend we have to spend $500,000 to get $250,000.
Right.
And then once we hit $1 million, then we get that $250,000. So we have to,
Another 250.
yes, so it's just in the form of reimbursement. So we have to actually, that incentivizes us to actually get the park completed, right? So we are, it's a 50% grant. So we spend 500,000.
So,
in the
but,
grand scheme of things.
but on the numbers show 1.2 million.
No.
Nope, it says $1,052.
I think what
That was the
Kevin-
old one.
I think, let me see if I understand. You showed that first slide of what did you guys spend, two something?
208,000.
Okay, 208,000. And then you're coming back and you're saying, the whole project is $1 million. Yes. But 500K of that would be hopefully grant money. Yes. So really, is it going to be 700K that the DDA spent, or is it 500 that 200 was baked into that 500 total? Is that what you're saying, Kevin? What about that 200?
At the end of the day, it's 500,000 DDA minus a couple of awards like DTE and that.
Right.
With the other 500 coming from
the
the
state.
grant, right?
Can I add something that might help?
Yeah, the 200,000 is
let me-
credit for the total amount.
Already spent.
We already spent
That's already
it, so that
gone.
counts.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
Yeah,
I didn't want to
yeah.
interrupt.
Yes, thank you, Derek. Thank you.
Yes.
I try to speak to that.
No,
I
that's
guess
fine. I
didn't
didn't want to
very well.
interrupt you, just because I want Kevin to understand it fully and all of us to fully
Yeah,
understand it.
yeah, definitely.
Because it took the 208 to already do some things to that park.
Right.
That-
and
and
that's
then-
included towards the
That's just what you did to the park.
Right.
Period. Now
Yeah.
we have this project coming along.
Right.
So that's why if somebody was asking, what have you totally done? That's a different number than what this project is. Because down the line, you have spent some money there previous.
correct.
Inherently, Kevin's, I think, getting at is correct. It would be 1.2 if you think about it.
Right. I mean,
Minus some random grant amounts from DTE or whatever, but
Right.
yeah, that's all I'm getting. I think
Everything
Kevin,
is
was that where you were going?
Go ahead.
it's a
Rough.
$1 million park. So the $200,000 is included. See,
So
the cost per-
we're being reimbursed, so to speak,
$500,000.
and the 500, we'll put a 500 in, not 700.
Correct.
We'll put 500 in, and they'll reimburse
500.
500.
Correct. It's just in
And-
the matter of stages.
I understand that, thank you. And the other question is, how does this affect your budget? For instance, this year, when you start to repay these loans, what will that do to your annual?
So it'll be about $60,000 in annual loan payments.
$60,000 in annual loan payments? And
For 7 years. And to my understanding, the pilot, I'll let Teresa explain that later. But yeah, it'll be $60,000 per year for 7 years.
that includes the pilot
Correct.
repay?
And also, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, also, Ross, maybe to help out, so better understanding. And that's so the board and the people know that DDA captures money from the taxes each year. So
Correct.
you are receiving money each year, a certain amount that you get.
Correct.
And from that, you're going to be using some of that money, correct? For this program, for the repayment, paying, if you will, paying the township back.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure we all understand that and the people understand that. Each year, you do get captured funds.
Yep.
And use that too. Okay.
And what would be the problem, or what would be the downside to, over a 7-year period, to implement the rest of the plan and not,
It would just take 7 years to build as opposed to 2.
and are you able to go out and seek other grants and,
Yep, of course. Yep. And we've been applying like crazy, so just with small success, but we got a couple last year, so.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, very good. I hope at least some of the questions were answered and we got a little more understanding of, especially, especially I wanted the board to understand that revolving account or the interdepartmental loans and how that works and how it's been working here at the township, so. And then we'll go from there. Okay, next is, the public comment. Is anybody in the audience wish to, anybody? Okay, we are good for that. Next is the, consent agenda, and, if you want to handle just the first three, since we shifted 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Tonight's consent agenda is to approve, recommendations are to approve the consent agenda for 24-072, which consists of the following: minutes of the December 9th, 2024 regular meeting, minutes of the December 9th, 2024 closed session, check register dated January 10th through, through January 10th, 2025. And then the rest of the items have been moved to action items. And
Support.
I make a motion to do that.
Support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. So, let's move to the action items. I have the first one. I just have a question for Brian, though. Who writes these?
Who writes
Writes
what?
these action items?
They're usually written by whatever department.
Okay, well, bear with me.
Okay.
I have the first one. If everybody will bear with, it's just kind of long, that's all. I know that we can't, like, give the Cliff Note version, but I just wondered who,
You could on history, purpose, and explanation.
how can I do, I guess so,
You
but,
just, the motion is just the recommendation. The history, purpose, and explanation you could summarize.
all right. We'll figure this one out. Okay, first one. Downtown Development Authority Pilot Program Distributions. All right, so need the to approve the authorization for the township manager to sign appropriate interfund loan documents to be prepared and approved by township attorneys to satisfy prior year's Downtown Development Authority review distribution requirements.
Second.
Oh, we got it? Okay, the history and the purpose. Island Woods Senior Housing is a low-income apartment community located on Macomb Street. The real estate is a part of the Downtown Development Authority. As low-income housing, upon the purchase of the property many years ago, the owner qualified for the Michigan State Housing Development Authority payment in lieu of tax, which is PILOT stands for, payment based on a percentage of net rents. Since Island Woods is part of DDA, these receipts were captured as property tax revenue in the DDA fund. With filing of the state Michigan MSHDA annual fee return for the 2018 tax year, the township was notified by the state of Michigan under 218 PA 57, its predecessor 1975 PA 197, and MCL 125.1415A5. None of these payments can be kept from the DDA. Can be kept by the DDA. Okay.
The difference between from and by, I'm not sure I'm on the horse here.
Okay, well, hold on before you get off the horse. This information was discovered, can I just go to the last paragraph? On summary, that's all right. This information was discovered in July 2024 after consulting with the township attorneys and auditors and discussing this matter with the DDA director and commission. It was determined that the taxing jurisdiction should be paid for the allocated portions of the pilot revenue plus annual interest of 6% for 2018 to 2021 tax years, and that situation should be remedied as soon as possible. The loan agreement is drafted by the township attorney. Do I need to go through the loan numbers? It's in the packet. Or all the numbers?
That's totally up to you.
Well, okay, then. All right. That is it. Is there any questions on this issue?
So if I understand this, the township is required by state law to give itself a loan, effectively, because the DDA kept money that should have gone to the township, and thus we're correcting the budgets by giving the DDA a loan for the money that they would have had to have paid back to us. Is that the layman's version of it?
Correct. The DDA,
Correct.
the funds, when the DDA received the funds from Island Woods, the full amount should have been distributed to the state of Michigan, Grosse Hill Schools, Wayne County, and our funds that have the ad valorem taxes. And that was the payments out to the other jurisdictions, except the state of Michigan, were not paid, and they do need to be paid. And so that total amount plus interest through the end of this month is a little over $70,000. And so that needs to be rectified as soon as possible. DDA does not have the cash to make that kind of payment in the middle of a budget year like this.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
I just have to make sure I'm understanding this. The funds originally should have been paid to these entities and was not. It was retained by? DDA. Okay. And now we want to pay it back with 6% interest. Is that
Correct.
the issue that's here? Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. The way it's worded, I was concerned.
Any other questions?
One other question. Is
Go ahead.
By law, we have to do something about this. I mean, thank you.
Ask a question?
Certainly.
Can you kind of put it into perspective for us that, the DDA has their own fund balance, right? And then they're getting so much in a year generally, and then they're going to be taking a loan for the park, and they'll be making those payments along with these. Can you help give us a feel for what their balance is going to look like, or?
Sure. So every year, with the property tax, I mean, nobody has Downtown Development Authority specifically on their tax bill. At the end of every year, we look at all the taxable value of all the DDA property and all the millages for the different taxing jurisdictions, and take that allocation based on the taxable value that's in the DDA. So that's about $210,000 for the current year. So the DDA has already budgeted for all of that, which includes improvements at Lions Park. We budgeted to use part of the fund balance. If you look at the fund balance for the DDA, because the DDA as a component, it's referred to as a component unit because of its the commission and that it has and everything and the purpose for it. It also holds fixed assets, the land that's been purchased, the structures, equipment, and that's part of fund balance. So they have private fund balance of a little over $2 million. However, not a lot of that is restricted because it's from the fixed assets, the structures. They have at the end of 3/31/24, they had a fund balance of just over unassigned fund balance that they can use for other things of just over $100,000.
So with the cash flow from this, they're going to be able to make their loan payments on
Correct.
the loan, plus
Correct.
also pay us back for these tax payments that they shouldn't have received.
It is a cash flow issue because we need to make the other taxing jurisdictions whole
Right.
for 4 years plus interest.
But the DDA will still be making payments, right?
Yes.
Instead of lump sum payments, they'll be
Right.
making monthly
Right.
payments back on 2 different loans. So their cash flow coming in still will be enough to cover that?
If they do, they're going to have to do other modifications to the budget. We're just getting into our budget season for 25-26 to start planning all of that out.
Okay, so they'll have to cut back on other things to be able to pay these
Correct.
loans back.
Correct. So, for instance, for
that
this
will
year's
happen.
budget, they had budgeted about 200,000 for the improvements of Lions Park. Not all of that is going to happen by the end of March. And so they have to look at the timing of the other things that they want to do, plus the normal events that they do during the year.
Okay.
It's also worth noting that this complex fell under the pilot program during these years. That complex is no longer in the pilot program, which that means the DDA then can capture those tax dollars where it technically couldn't in the past, being a pilot facility. So they are going to see an increase in their revenue tax capture by this facility now becoming eligible for tax capture where it didn't used to be. And the amount of capture was fairly equal to the payment being made of $16,000 per year.
But I
So
thought they were getting money because it was a pilot. So how did,
that they weren't eligible for, that's why they're having to pay it back.
so the amount of money that they were getting, though,
Well, they weren't allowed to capture those pilot dollars, and that's what this
Why they have
payment
to pay it
back
back.
is for, is because they captured funds that should have been distributed to other taxing entities. But that's only because it was under this pilot categorization. So payment in lieu of taxes is what pilot stands for.
okay.
That facility is no longer in the pilot, it's no longer pilot eligible. So it's actually a taxable entity now for which the DDA can capture funds from, and their increase in revenue from that eligibility is about equal to what these payments are on an annual basis.
What's a wash?
So you'll see their revenue increase by X and their expenditures increase by Y, which about, like you mentioned, is a wash.
And going forward, if we ever have something like this, it would have helped me to see all the numbers laid out for what their fund is, what they got, you know, how it affects the two departmental loans, just so we can see it all in front of us to show that, you know, yes, they're able to make those loan payments. And I mean, I think I have enough now to make a decision. I don't know about everybody else, but it would have helped.
And we'll be sure that, you know, and when the action item for the park, which hasn't obviously been approved, that's something that the board will be asked at a later date to approve. You know, we'll make sure we pass that along to the manager to, you know, show you where that fits into the budget. And now naturally, it's mid-budget cycle, so it'll be more of a projection, right, moving forward. But that'll be something that will,
But it would really help. Thank you.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
if I understand this correctly, Derek, what you're saying is that we've got a situation that has to be rectified. We've got a system that needs our approval, but there's still, even after that, a certain amount of minor adjustments with cash flow to make the thing flow like we're talking about. It all hasn't worked out yet. Have I understood that correctly? There's a few things down the road you have to do yet, and some more meetings or adjustments, Teresa? Is that right?
I don't think so. I mean, the 16,000 will have to be built into subsequent years' budgets.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. There's something that has to be adjusted yet, but it will work itself out with cash flow over about a number of years.
Yeah, I think that the cash flow situation associated with this pilot program, they're comfortable with. They'll have to show you how the cash flow on any other subsequent loans would work out within their budget.
But those subsequent adjustments are necessary. We haven't decided to do those yet, or you haven't decided to do that with your cash flow. I mean, it's not totally.
Ultimately, it'll be the DDA's responsibility. So the DDA is an authority. They have a governing board that adopts a budget annually. So they'll have to account for, you know, those expenditures within their subsequent budgets.
But, oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
So just really quick, do we have stopgaps in place, I assume, to make sure, and I know this wasn't done while you're, you know, but to make sure this kind of issue doesn't occur again? Or was this just an oversight of some sort?
I can't speak to why it wasn't done
Right.
in the past, but what
How do we
happened in
make sure it doesn't
2021
happen
to
again
make
is
them
the thing.
eligible for the pilot program is that the owner of Island Woods refinanced their
Right.
mortgage. The township was never notified.
Okay. And is that a requirement that they notify us when they're a part of a pilot program like that?
So once I started looking into it and contacting people, then I from Mishta, I finally got a letter. It was dated August of this year saying that refinancing the mortgage made them ineligible for the pilot program. So this won't happen again in
Got
the
it.
future.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Teresa or Derek? Okay, for action item number 1, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, number 1 is passed. I will handle number 2. Grosse Township Board authorization for RFP development, Grosse Tollbridge Engineering.
Second.
Hold on, I said a
Oh,
little more,
sorry.
sorry. The Grosse Township Board of Trustees hereby approves a proposal from Fishbeck Engineering Services for the purposes of developing an RFP for bridge construction engineering services for improvements, upgrades to the Grosse Toll Bridge. Jameson, fine.
Second.
Okay. The use of a consultant to develop a request for proposals is necessary to ensure that the proper considerations are being asked in the proposal. The RFP will be for engineering, permitting, bidding, contracting, and project management for the work associated with the Grosse Toll Bridge. Fishbeck assisted with the development of the RFP for bridge engineering services for the original toll bridge engineering inspection. Any questions? Well, I will put in there too, the total cost, $6,500 for this. I know we had a meeting on this. We talked about it. Is there any questions from the board for Derek? Okay, no questions. We're good. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Number 3 has been canceled there, so we deleted that. So we go to number 4. Kevin, you got the next 2.
We're gonna do the grant policy and procedure.
Yes.
Grant policy and procedure.
Correct. So the,
Do you want me to read it, or?
You have to read it.
yeah, you should read it.
Agenda item, Grant Policies and Procedures Handbook. Recommendation, approve the adoption of the Grant Policies and Procedure Handbook. History during the audit for the year ended March 31st.
1 second. I'll second it. Go ahead. I'm just going to second it.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you. During the audit for the year ended March 31st, 2024, the Township of Grosse had a federal award finding due to the lack of written procedures specific to federal awards. Written procedures specific to federal awards are required to comply with uniform guidance, including written procedures for the financial management systems, payments, allowable costs, period of performance, matching or cost-sharing program income, procurement, equipment and real property, supplies, copyrights, subawards, or debarred and suspended parties, monitoring and reporting program performance, financial reporting, retention and access requirements for records, cash management and payroll, or federal timekeeping. The township's increase in federal grant activity results in being subject to an annual single audit as required by the Federal Clearinghouse, the state of Michigan, and other awarding agencies when the financial audit is concluded or conducted. The single audit tests for compliance with uniform guidance and specific program requirements. Also, the township's overall increase in grant activity from federal, state, and local sources requires the establishment and documentation of policies and procedures for all grant awards. The policies and procedures outlined in the handbook establish sound, uniform, compliant, and efficient procedures for the management of grants made to or by the Township of Grosse. Grant policies and procedures and single audit requirements are documented in this handbook. Approval of the Township of Grosse Grant Policies and Procedures Handbook will complete the corrective action plan for this audit finding.
Very good. Teresa, is there anything you'd like to just add before we have any questions?
The only thing I would add is that just in the little over a year that I've been here, I've noticed an increase in grant activity for the township. So when I went to prepare this handbook, and I did base it off of a template that I found, and the resources are noted at the very back, that it covers grants, whether they're federal, state, or local, in the record keeping that the township needs to do. It also outlines the federal requirements to make sure that we're in compliance when we are audited. So it covers both, and the things that are in here. If we do something, some of our policies are stricter than some of the other ones, like for procurement, that's okay. We follow our policies. But the issue was, we were doing everything correctly. We had no findings with what our process was. It just, we had no documented or written policies.
I'd like to thank, Teresa is our finance director, and I'd like to thank Teresa for putting this together. I think this goes towards open and transparent government. I'd also like to thank her for finding and correcting the DDA issue. And I think there's one other item on the agenda that you have put together, and thank you very much for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any questions from the board?
No, but I usually have my red pen handy, and I just thought this was very well-written and robust, and actually reflects a lot of the things that we did at Ford Motor Company and General Motors, so just great job.
Anything else from the board?
Thank you.
Okay, action item number 4, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, number 5, if you'd like to do that.
Number 5 is the Huntington Bank.
Huntington Bank,
This is Huntington Bank Commercial Card Resolution. Approval of Huntington Bank Commercial Card Resolution. The Township of Grosse. History and purpose, the Township of Grosse has used credit cards for incidental expenditures for over 15 years. During most of that time, retail cards were closed and the appropriate commercial credit cards were opened with one of the township's current financial institutions. Certain terms of the current credit card agreement related to payment due dates and other items have caused administrative difficulties within the departments of the township over the past 9 months. It has been determined that it is in the best interest of the township to change to a new financial institution for credit card usage. Huntington Bank, acting as the paying agent for several township bonds, prior experience with this financial institution, and favorable credit card terms are key factors in this commercial card change. Credit card usage is included under expenditure control in the fiscal administration section of the township's administrative policies and procedures. The financial impact will be better reward programs for usage that will benefit all departments. The policy implications, the township administrative policies and procedures addresses specific guidelines for credit card use by department managers. Huntington Bank requires more detail regarding the overall authorized use of credit cards by the Township of Grosse than what is documented in our current policies and procedures manual. So, would you like to speak to that?
Only that we do have policies and procedures in place for our credit card usage. Huntington just required a little bit more additional specific detail, and that's the purpose of the resolution and the document that I'm requesting be signed so that I can send it to them. When we switch to commercial government credit cards, it's been very difficult meet their deadlines requirements. They don't, the institution we use now does not allow us to make a payment at the branch, which I found we didn't know that, and the payment time is 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. So I think the department managers are tired of getting emails from me on the 10th of every month, to say, okay, you've got to make this a priority. But I think it also helped them become, make sure they're organized about this and the required detail too. But overall, I think it's in the best interest of the township to make the change at this time.
Thank you, Teresa, I think. Thank you.
Any questions? I just have a comment unless somebody has a question. We're good. Teresa, I just want to say, it's basically a generic thank you to you. When we first came in and I became the supervisor, we met. There was numerous items we went over. Some items do need board approval like this. Some items we changed. What Teresa has done for the township, she's made it better for the workers, made it better for the managers, made it better for the departments, thus making it better for the township. So who benefits? The people of Grosse. I just want to say thank you, because obviously, we're not going to find that, what you found. Some of those changes were already made, and some do need board approval, as I stated. But she has come up with more than one issue that we have now, we'll just say we did change. And it's better for all of us. But that I want to say thank you because of the work that you've done that rolls down the line, and it eventually ends up in the taxpayers' pockets if we save fees, things of that nature. So, once again, good job, both of you two, and thanks,
Thank you.
Kevin, for that, working with her. All right. No other questions? All right. For action item 5, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Jameson, I think you're going to handle
Okay.
number 6, correct? All right.
I move that the Grosse Township Board hereby authorize the contract with Ryko USA Incorporated for the leasing of 9 copiers for 60 months at a total cost of $38,893.20.
Second.
So the township's been having a lot of issues with the copiers we currently have. Most of them are over 8 years old, with 3 following copiers that are 6, 5, and 3 years old. The contract includes toner for all 9 copiers and staples for the 3 that require it, and all service is free. And the pricing for the copiers is from the My Deal state contract with Ryko. So it's the it doesn't require the 3 bid system because it's part of the My Deal state contract. And as far as the financial impact goes, there'll be significant cost savings with the per copy price, and you can see the attached chart in the packet, which will increase about $100 a month for the combined cost of the lease and the new click rates.
Okay, is there any questions for Jameson on this? Okay, action item number 6. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Number 7, action item. You have that also, sir?
I do. I hereby move to approve the appointment of Eileen Mastalix onto the Recreation Commission.
Second.
Eileen was unanimously approved by the Recreation Commission to join them as a new commissioner at the November board meeting. The commission has had 2 empty seats for the past few months, and Eileen will occupy one of those spots. She's been assisting the Recreation Department and Commission at events for quite some time now, so she is well versed in the department's schedule and workload. And if you look over her application, she's currently a cybersecurity engineer at the U.S. Department of Treasury, which is so I feel she's a very professional person and will do a great job on rec. So
Okay,
she came highly recommended from the members of the rec commission as well.
good. Any questions for Jameson? With no questions, action item number 7. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay, tonight we have no discussion items, and we're back to you. Clerk's report.
Okay, so this is the revenue and expenditure reports as of 12/31/2024. Teresa, just a quick question on this. I was under the impression that the clerk's office delegated most of these tasks to the treasurer's office. So is this
It's
under
always
the,
been duties that have been delegated to the finance department from the clerk's office.
so just
When I
as
started,
a,
it was never requested.
okay.
I didn't realize it was part of our policies and procedures that the board get a monthly report at the first board meeting of the month. So since the duties originated with the clerk's office, that's where we put the report, and you'll be receiving this report every month at the first meeting.
So would it make sense for us, for future agendas, to move this under the treasurer's report as opposed to the clerk's report?
Well, it's under the clerk because, yes, it's finance, but finance falls under.
Falls under
Okay,
clerk.
so it's not one of the delegated authorities then?
It is, but it's delegated to the finance department, which is still under the clerk.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, I am going to defer to Teresa on this one. So it's I looked it over, and I'm not going to read all this. So
Yeah, and really the point was we were putting it in there for just for your guys' information.
Okay.
It wasn't something that we
So-
had to go over unless you wanted to touch on something that was. in
I did
there.
look it over. I think it's about 40 pages. There was nothing in there that I saw that was particularly concerning or glaring. I hope the other board members can take a chance to peep at it and point out anything that they might be concerned about. But it seemed very regular to me.
Just for the public that's listening in, the treasurer's office, the finance department, and the clerk, the treasurer's office and the clerk are meant to watch each other's backs, or what's the correct way to say that as an accountant?
I'm not sure.
Well, work together.
Work
Together,
It's a check, it's a check and balance. It's a check and balance. The clerk's office checks the checks before they go out, and the treasurer's office checks them.
Yeah,
So-
and I would point out the public can access our board packets on the meeting portal. So any member of the public that wants to look through all 40 pages, you're welcome to. So, and I'm sure some people will.
All right, very
So
good.
I just want to make a quick comment. When people are looking at these, the expenditures are pretty much on track for the period of time. The revenue, because especially with the property taxes, because almost all of our tax money is collected on the winter tax bill. The final allocation of the revenue doesn't happen till at year end, which is March 31st. So then everything catches up at the end of the year when I'm getting ready for the audit.
Okay.
Thank you, Teresa.
Any comment on the revenue expenditure report before I forge on with the rest of my report? Okay. There will be no bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee meeting this month. And recreation already met. Next recreation meeting will be the 6th of February. The next BPAC meeting will be the 20th of February. I wanted to bring up the rec baskets. I thought it was like a really cool idea, but it would be nice if the board could maybe do something to reinforce it a little bit. So what the Recreation Commission does is when they find out someone's newly moved to Grosse, they give them a little like welcome basket, which is, I think, really cool. I can't think of another community that does that at a governmental level. The baskets consist of like, coupons, gift cards, flyers from local businesses. But if we could, and maybe this is something I need to talk about with the Rec Commission, but it would be nice if we could spend a little bit of money on it to maybe include, I don't know, some cookies or a Grosse koozie or a neon palm tree or something. So I'm going to talk to Rec about it, but I just think it's a super cool thing they're doing, a really unique idea, and they're doing a great job. So that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you very much. Kevin, treasurer's report?
Treasurer's report for the month of December, Grosse Township had a total of $11,188,533 invested in various accounts. The accounts generated a total of $25,109 in investment interest with an average interest rate of 3.19%. Current breakdown of these investment account is available on the treasurer's website at grosse.com. The treasurer's office continues to collect winter tax bill payments and late summer tax bill payments at Township Hall. Winter tax bills are due February 14th. To date, we have collected approximately 54.6% of the total winter tax roll. Distributions of these tax collections have been sent timely to Wayne County and the Grosse School District. Winter tax deferments are still available. Eligible residents can apply for an extension of the winter tax due date of February 14th, 2025 to April 30th, 2025. Forms are available online at grosse.com until February 14th, 2025. 2025 pet licenses are available at the treasurer's office. The fee is $6 until January 31st, 2025, and increased to $12 on February 1st. Be sure to bring current rabies vaccination certificate for your pet when purchasing your license. And that is the
You're set?
treasurer's report.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, trustees report. William, you are first tonight.
Thank you. Basically, what's developing at this point is my relationship with both the Airport Commerce Park Commission and the Planning Commission. I have a growing respect for the abilities and the concerns that our membership on those two commissions have. They are doing their work well, in my opinion. Nothing in terms of businesses to be brought before the board at this time. But I feel grateful for the ability of those people. Thank you.
All set, William? Okay, thank you. Mark is excused tonight. Margaret?
So I have a few things for the police commission. The police department has been working really hard to make critical infrastructure improvements to the public safety building. These items will be coming into a future board meeting, so I just wanted to kind of mention them now in case anybody's going to have questions. We can get ahead on those, but the improvements are critical to the safety and efficiency of not only the police, but the fire as well. Chief Carmack will be providing details, as I mentioned, for a future board meeting. But I did want to point out how the command staff at GIPD continues to look ahead and make sure that our infrastructure is being maintained for the safety of this community. So one of the big items is the generator, and it's seen better times. It's about 30 years old, so it's still functioning. I would call it's at the end stages of its life. So if this were to go down, it would be not only a big expense, but it would be a huge issue for both police and fire. So a new generator is going to be anywhere between $150 to $170K. The cost will be split between PD and fire, and that's purely because it supports both. And the GIPD will be utilizing cell tower funds for their purchase, their portion of the purchase. The second joint replacement is the phone system. This is public safety team oriented, and they've been utilizing the standard Michigan Bell copper lines, and they'll be moving into the 21st century with their voice over IP phone system. This is also going to be a pricey purchase, but I think at this point, if I understand correctly, we are the only public safety building downriver right now that still uses copper lines. So we do need to upgrade. So the third item is PD specific, and it's their in-vehicle laptops. The current laptops in the police vehicles have hit their end of life expectancy as well. They can no longer be updated with latest software or operating system. So that's also going to be an approximate $70K estimate, but not most likely, it will be coming from forfeiture funds. So that is not going to hit their budget. And I'm mentioning these again in advance just to let everybody know These are going to be coming up. If there are questions, please let me know. Please contact Chief Carmack. He's happy to answer questions. But I think it's really important for not just the board, but the community to know how fiscally responsible Grosse PD is working towards with respect to their budget. And they have a very, very limited budget. So I just want everybody to understand they continue to try to be as fiscally responsible as possible. One more thing I wanted to touch on really quick, and I had watched the Greenways and Open Space Commission, and I know there were concerns from people regarding commissioners being chosen or not chosen, or what whatever the case was. And there was a misunderstanding, I think, in the fact that I think I touched on earlier. We have to look at a whole big picture and not just one specific case. And I know that former board members were interested in participating on commissions, but we've also been under, reviewing things like current litigation that could negatively impact the township that we have to consider when we look at commission requests as well. So I don't want anybody to think that I think it was, terms like it was foolish and short-sighted. I can understand frustration, and I understand, when you look at just your specific case, but when we make choices, we have to kind of look at the thing holistically and understand what's going to be best for the overall township. I felt bad for the people that were upset, but I just want them to understand that this wasn't like, anything specific. It was an overall township concern. And that was it.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Mickey, you?
Yeah. So I'll start with the Fire Commission. Went to the first meeting as board liaison. Great group, great credentials. As far as the good fellows, they wanted to thank us thank the Grosse families, the Garden Club, the Gearhead Club, the Herb Club, the Grosse schools, and all the groups for the donations that they make throughout the year. They were most recently were able to help somebody that had a liver transplant, which was huge. And then they took about $1,000 worth of groceries over to the senior residents, which they tend to fall short on groceries when their Social Security is running out at the end of the month. So they were very excited. The job hiring events at the fire department are working. We now have our first husband and wife team. So that's historical. That's Nicole and Matt Gall. We have 11 new members, including 4 women. We're up to 30 firefighters now. 5 are currently in EMT school, and so that's going great. We're updating the fire department web pages. 2024 calls. They had 686 EMS calls, 110 fire calls for 796 total, and that's a 7% increase on the EMS calls. They have a new cardiac arrest routine. If somebody has cardiac arrest, and I believe this is regulated, but they now have to stay on the scene for 20 to 30 minutes and go through all the protocols, establish the airway, everything else, and then they'll contact ALS to determine the appropriate drug protocol. The hose tower was fixed. Repairs were made, including tearing off the roof, paid fully with COVID relief funds. The next Fire Commission meeting is February 13th at 5 p.m. I also attended for the first time the Greenways Open Space Committee. The nice thing about that is the chairperson and I walked the trails at Meridian this weekend so we could look at the culverts, look at that semi-log cabin and bridge that are up and talk about that. We're working on resolving those issues, and Derek was nice enough to answer all my questions today, so thank you. Derek, you also told me the Ferry Gauge Trail will have gravel put down at the entrance, hopefully by the end of next week for parking, weather permitting. We're scheduling a study session for the master plan. Let's see. Reviewing our trails on February 11th, Dr. David Dimitri, he's Director of Conservation for the Detroit Zoo, will visit our trails and help us to make recommendations. So one of the things we'll ask him to do is to look at those culverts on Meridian Trails to make sure if there's something we should be doing better for the wetlands, the water to flow better. The next meeting is February 4th at 7 p.m. And just to end that, so I did attend the meeting, and they were really frustrated, because when you tell somebody they can't have a committee member that they want, of course it's frustrating. So I did tell them I would bring it up. I think they're also concerned that the committees may not have the same amount of authority that they had in the past. I think Joe probably can speak to that better than I can, but I did want to bring that up.
I'm not quite sure what the situation was. I only watched part of that meeting. I did watch that part, though. Here's the situation. If a commission is out there, and the commissions are the backbones of the township, first the staff workers here that run the day-to-day operation, Teresa, Derek, and our staff, they're the first part of the backbone. The other is the commissions that oversee the managers, and the managers are obviously in charge. But when the commissions, we have policies, we have procedures. Nothing has changed. I think there was a misunderstanding. I think there maybe the communication should have been a little better, and I'll take that. But the bottom line is, if any commission chairs are out there, or commission people are listening, bring whoever you want to this board, and we're going to vote on you. That's the procedure, that's the policy, and nothing's changed. I think what has happened is yes, there was some talk. It was unfortunate that I had at least 2 complaints when I became supervisor that they applied. There was only a few that applied, they found out, and they never even got an interview. That was the main issue. The main issue is I would like to see if we get 10 applications, let's say for the police commission, well then the police commission can vet down to 3 interviews or whatever they want to do. And the commission can then interview. It's not a big deal. If we have 2 or 3, I would really like to see all 3 be interviewed to see what they feel would be the best. To interview 1 more in the night from 2 or 3, anything more you want to vet, fine. But I think what came out of that was there's individuals that keep getting passed up for commissions out here, and they can't understand why, because they've never even been interviewed. And I think that's a shame. I'm going to be straight. I'm not blaming the commission. I'm not blaming anybody else. But what I'm trying to tell you is, once you have something here, once you were doesn't mean you are. And there's nothing locked in. That's what I was trying to say. Now, did that get turned around? Sure. If they want to bring Joe Porcelli forward, bring him forward. And guess what? There's 7 of us that run this township. We oversee everything. And we'll make the decisions. And we'll vote just like the policy says. So I'm not real concerned about that. I know when something goes out there, sometimes it explodes. And I get it. Margaret, I get your point. I think a lot of us have the exact same philosophy or point that you have. So the bottom line is, I'm in agreement that we'll go by the policy, bring them forward, and we'll go from there. And that's all I really can tell you right now, because we'll do the voting. I can tell you the page, I can tell you the paragraph, and I can tell you the line that shows us what to do. I mean, there's one thing I do with policies. Maybe I should read the change in the consent agenda, the action item policy a little better. But I promise you, I didn't write the 126 policies in the police department and not know them.
Hey, Joe,
So-
you and I also talked about that. I mean, we're really busy right now with the bridge, but maybe down the road, we can bring in the chairs of the different committees and have them talk about what their organizations do to try to fill all the vacancies.
That's fine.
So maybe something
Yeah.
we look at down the road.
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm in for any type of meeting, open meeting. I like the meetings where the public, obviously, they're always invited to any meeting we have, because they're all open, and I like to have more of those. So I have no problem with that. You know that.
Okay.
So as long as we have an understanding on the board of what we do with commissions, and for the people, I would like to see people that have applied get an interview. I would like to see that. Something didn't go right, and I would like to make it run a little smoother. That's all. So, all right, are we good on that? Everybody good? Anything else? Okay, that's it for tonight for the trustees. Then, Derek? even though you're going to go before me, Derek, but I'd just like to say during my report, please add, because you were in on all the meetings that I went to, so.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and members of the board. Just a quick few items this evening. Along with the theme tonight about finance, I had sent an email out to the board about a week or so ago, just commenting on the recent bond rating that the township received on the 21 and some change $1 million bond proposal for the purchase of the toll bridge and engineering. The township is happy to report that we did receive a AA rating, which is considered to be high quality as far as municipal bond ratings are considered. That's a stable rating, so that indicates that the township is stable in its finances and is a wise choice to invest in when it comes to purchasing the bonds that we'll be issuing. So congratulations to everybody that's had a hand in that, because bond ratings are essential for low interest rates. Just like your credit card, if you have a bad credit score, your interest rate's going to be higher, or any financing that you do in your professional or in your personal lives. Same with municipalities. If we have a good credit score or bond rating, we can achieve a greater market for our bonds, but also a much lower interest rate. So that's all good information. I have been getting a number of phone calls from residents, and actually people have been stopping by asking, what is the status of the toll bridge purchase. I would refer them to the timeline that is on our website, but the most recent information that I have from our bond counsel today is the bond sale will actually take place on January 23rd. The bond closing, so we'll close on our loans, so that's the loans, not the bridge, will be around February 13th. And then the bridge purchase will likely be at the end of March. So for all those residents wondering when the purchase of the bridge will take place, once again, there's a process to all this, with the conclusion of the process being the closing of the bridge, closing on the bridge, not closing of the bridge, but closing on the bridge, which will be right at the end of March of 2025. The DPS meeting for January has been canceled. That would normally be, I believe, tomorrow. The next meeting for the DPS commission is scheduled for February 11th. Township Hall will be closed next Monday for Martin Luther King Day. And I wanted to pass along to the mic to Teresa, because she has an update on the ClearGov software rollout.
So in December, the board approved using the ClearGov software for transparency and budgeting purposes. So our focus for this upcoming budget season is the digital budgeting book and transparency. I did have my kickoff call with ClearGov last week, and we have a timeline for what we want to complete by March 31st of this year. And today I sent them all of the data and information out of BSNA that they will need to put the budgeting book together, which includes 5 years of historical budget and actual data plus the current year. So they're going to be very busy the next couple weeks, and we have our next call is scheduled for January 21st.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Could
Okay.
I ask a question of Derek?
Oh, sure.
We were talking about a placement of the budget. Have we actually got our bonds approved and they are in place now? And do we know what interest rate we're going to pay?
No, so when I referenced a bond sale on January 23rd, so that's when the bonds will actually go to the market. They'll be advertised, and we should be able to get our information as far as what the
It's not quite, okay, it'll be a little, it's close at hand, but.
right, the interest rates will be coming in around that time. You'll know between then and mid-February what we're going to be going with. The closing will take place on the 13th on the selected bond provider.
All set?
Thank you.
Okay, my report will be next. I want to go over a couple of meetings Derek and I had with entities, and some very important stuff here we've been looking for, and we've gotten some answers. So the first one I want to talk about is a meeting with DTE for the battery plant right across the water. Actually, it was an excellent meeting, and what they told us Those batteries that are there are lithium ion phosphate batteries. And people were very concerned about fire suppression, containment, what occurs, and we did get some of those answers. And there's going to be more to come. They're going to have a public meeting in the summer. They've agreed to come out here and have a public meeting, which again, I really prefer. I like it when the people can come ask questions, but I want to relay this to you now. If you drive by Van Horn and the Grosse Parkway in West Jefferson there, you'll see the area closest to Jefferson Avenue is where the battery, where all the batteries will be. So one good thing about Grosse, it's the furthest away from the water. It's not where those buildings were. And what they're going to be is they look like pods. They almost look like steel pods, probably about 15 by 15 square feet. And they're going to hold these batteries inside. They will be encapsulated in these pods. And one question that I got, well, the main question from numerous people was, what if they have fires? What if they have problems? So what they have is, if you drive by there now, you'll see these black pipes sticking out of the ground. Those are all fire suppression systems for the pods. And you may have 100 pods there when they're done. And they're about 10 feet tall, again, 15 by 15 approximately. And what they're going to use this for is they're going to use that power when summertime, when all our air conditioners are on and they need more power to this area, they're going to provide that power through this battery system. Now, when we go to sleep at night, when most power isn't consumed, then they will, however they do it, look, I'm not an electrical engineer, but however the power gets back into those batteries overnight, and then the program starts over. So they will be up and running in about 14 months. And you'll see all of what has been done there, and you really get the best view by Van Horn. You'll see it through there. Now, this is going to take months and months to put in. And once again, they think they can do it, be online and it working in 14 months. So the next question is this, though. What if there's a fire there? We know with these lithium ion phosphate batteries that water isn't the best thing for them. They have this built-in fire suppression system. If it heats up, if it combusts somehow, if it starts on fire, basically, the suppression system puts it out from the inside. Once again, it's like these encapsulated steel little buildings, if you will. Now, the gentleman did tell me, now I don't like the word never or always, but he said we've never had a fire outside of this encapsulated pod, if you will. It's always been handled within the inside. When the temperature goes up, first thing they do is they shut the power, and then they hit it with that fire suppression system, which is like a powder. Not to say we can't have a fire. So our next question was, what if you take the worst, I want the worst scenario. What if the entire place catches fire? What does that mean for Grosse? They are going to get the manufacturers from everything that's inside those pods. They're going to get us a list. And they're going to get us exactly, if anything from that in combination with each other, if that makes sense, will cause any harm if inhaled. Number one, the fire department in Trenton and some of the other fire departments are already training. They're already training on what to do for there. So when we get that information, that's the only information that they couldn't give us at that meeting, is a list of what that's made out of and what it means if it catches fire into the air, because we know that weather goes west to east mostly, so Grosse is obviously right, to the east. So, Derek, is there anything that you would like to add from that meeting that you'd like to at least tell the people that?
Yeah, so there are these cabinets installed on Jefferson, where the old conveyor used to go across the road. If you're heading south on the right-hand side, there's already 20 or 30 of them installed. If you want to see what they're going to look like, that's what they're going to look like, is what's already at what they called the Slocum location, which is on the west side of Jefferson, down past Van Horn. The other thing that they wanted to mention was that the demolition of the existing facilities there at the DTE site in Trenton should be done early in the spring. but they are going to be creating some additional noise after that by doing some hammering of basically some beams to set foundations for these battery banks, because they're very heavy. They have to put pile down, I-beams down to set the foundations. So they're going to be getting a notice out to the residents to let the residents know what that noise is going to be, when it's going to happen, and how long it's going to go for. But they did say it would be noticeable. We do get a number of phone calls from people over on West River Road with the demo work that's been going on, but they said you will definitely recognize it. You'll definitely hear it. It'll be a steady pounding as they're driving this pile at that location. So we'll get more information out from to the residents from DTE once that's received. Also worth mentioning, these cabinets are isolated. They're all separated. They're not in large rows. I mean, they're in rows, but they're in separate cabinets to try to reduce the likelihood that fire could spread, because as the supervisor had mentioned, they're like self-contained units, so that you don't have as high of a risk of that fire spreading. So, and the batteries that are in them are about the size of your like power wheel that your kid has. They're about that size, but they're very dense and heavy. It's very concentrated. So that is kind of the makeup of the batteries that are in those cabinets. So.
A couple things that we'll do, they said, because we have power shortages in the summer, especially with running the air conditioners, it will help downriver out. And that's what it's for. The power is going to go where it's needed, which will help us out, obviously, in those type of times. And as I stated previously, around July, I think they said July, they would at least like to come here, and I would like the open meeting. And they are more than happy to come and answer any questions the public has, which again I think is really good for us in our relationship with them. Anything else, Derek? Are you good? Okay.
Hey, Joe.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure, certainly. Who wants to go?
I was just wondering if they would meet separately with our fire department?
Our fire department will be involved in trainings. They will
With
be.
DTE?
Yeah, and I talked to our fire department, our chief, and they've already been, they're already training on battery fires.
Yeah, I know
So-
they've been training, but I wonder if they could have, a one-on-one with DTE to ask all their questions and.
They will. I think what they had mentioned to Joe and I was that they're going to be bringing the manufacturers in and to put together a strategic response to any events that might happen and coordinate with the fire departments to put that
For each of them
response.
downriver,
Yep.
not just Trenton's.
Right.
Yes, for mutual aid, correct.
And that'll likely happen before that public meeting that they would have with the township in July. So
So they'll not only meet with DTE, but also the manufacturers? They'll
I
come
believe
together?
so, yes. Yep.
Okay, that's
That's what they
great.
stated.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Bill, you had something?
Yes, normally when a fire takes place, you need fuel, you need oxygen, you need heat. These cabinets, if they're tight enough, deprive these fires of oxygen. Is that the system they're depending on here to contain the fire? I mean, in that situation, it's pretty hard. You have a hot spot, but it doesn't spread much.
Oh, they said that it can ignite inside for some different reasons, simply because it's a battery.
Right.
But you're correct. That's why they only put them in like 15 by 15 pods. And it might be 12 by 12, but I just did it from what
And then they're
Derek and I
separated
saw.
to stop the heat from.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons. And then their fire suppression system is a powder, because, you don't put straight water on, well, it's last resort is you put straight water.
Sounds like it's been carefully engineered.
Oh, no, they're not screwing around.
So
you
lithium
know.
doesn't require oxygen to burn. It actually
Okay.
breaks down hydrogen from water.
It takes the hydrogen and the oxygen, believe it or not, from water, breaks it down, and it feeds the
That's
fire.
significant, okay.
And it's kind of like magnesium
This is
too.
why you have the powder for the suppressants.
Right.
Correct. And
Thank you.
so we'll get all
You're
those
following me.
answers, and as soon as I get them, I definitely, because those were very important to some people in their questioning, and they should be, because we're directly across from them. So, okay, the next meeting I had, if you recall, I had a meeting with the BASF group, their environmental group. They're actually, the one individual was in charge of all of BASF. She came in, and all the plant managers are under her. And if you recall, there was a news release that BASF was discharging PFAS into the Detroit River. And they were looking into it, and since they are just north of us and everything runs south, I wanted to meet with their environmental group, their communications director, and the director of BASF. And what came out of the meeting was very good. They showed me that the EPA and Eagle, who is the state, they did testing together, and what they found is there was no PFAS coming out of any of their discharge pipes. What they did find is trace amounts from the ground seepage, and then now people would ask, well, if it's seeping from the ground, how did it get there? If they don't make it, they don't produce it, and they don't use it. Well, how this happened was, and even being a fireman that I was, I know that we used to train with F8 foam, and F8 foam has PFAS in it. And they used to have numerous trainings at BASF there with the Wyandotte Fire Department and their own individuals. They don't have their own fire department, but they do have people trained to assist. So all the years that they had that, they feel that there was like weeping from groundwater into the river. Now, what's important to know is they tested their drinking water and why that affects Grosse. Our drinking water, the intake is 20 miles north or so in the Detroit River. Their drinking water intake is right at the tip, the north end of Hennepin Point. So what that means is when they found nothing in their drinking water that's hazardous, they would know that whatever came down the river, if you will, didn't hit Grosse or we don't have any issues with it. That was very important. So I don't have all the answers. I did see the paperwork. I did go through a talk with them, a meeting, and I just feel that there's a mitigation procedure in place right now that is EPA is overseeing, and I'm not saying these are all the answers to this problem, but I do know what they've stated, what was put on the news, they don't believe was correct, and they showed me why they don't believe was correct. So I wanted to relay this to the people, and what was very important is their drinking water had no issues with it, because that's what our water does. Comes to the front of Grosse and splits and goes down each side. So once again, they do have a mitigation procedure in place with the EPA overseeing it and their environmental group, and it made me feel a little better. So I don't know if any of you saw the news release, but it was more like they were doing something out of their discharges, and none of their discharges showed PFAS at all. So, all right. Somebody have something? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I kind of saved the best for last. Now, it's with Wayne County. We had a meeting, and I want to preface this, and I know when you hear the whole outcome, meetings are rated on a lot of different issues, but I just want to say that, and Derek, if jump in anytime, we had 6 representatives from Wayne County, including second in charge of Wayne County. And it's quite different now. We have different people on both sides of the table. I feel they were very open with us. They were honest with us. And that's the way I just want to be with them. I want a good working relationship with Wayne County. I know I've thanked Margaret in the past. I'm not sure how we handle things helped Margaret, but I'm going to say thank you. So it is what it is. Now, here's the issue that we have to deal with. There was a press release that came out, and first off, what they're going to do, they will be lowering the speed limit to the bridge from 35 to 25. They will be putting, there's a different kind, it's not speed bumps, but it's like a cushion before the bridge, so it'll be on Grosse Parkway, not on the bridge. No speed bumps on the bridge. And the reason they're doing that is obviously for longevity and safety reasons. But what they did tell us, and there's no choice to this, and again, Derek, if you want to jump in, obviously it was a month, was going to be the construction project that they have for their project to upgrade. I'm not going to call it an emergency issue because it's not so much of an emergency, but it was going to take 30 days. Now they told us not 4 weeks, but it's going to be 8 weeks. And what this does is we're going to be working with, obviously, the business owners, the people. We're going to be checking into some things that we're going to be doing to try and help the people of Grosse get on and off this island during that time, off the County Bridge. We met with our engineers. There's some things that, I don't want to get too deep into this, but about what we can bring over. We're already meeting with the business owners of Grosse, and I'm going to put an email out to all of them. But I think what this means is, we just got to keep working on it. I'm sorry that I don't have an answer for you why it was 4 and now it's 8. All I know the answer is now 8 weeks. Is there anything that you would like to talk about on the, they're very good to work with us on delaying our purchase date for numerous reasons. I don't know if you want to go into that right now.
I would just say a couple of things. The reduction of the speed limit and the addition of the speed bumps, that's intended to, reduce the likelihood of future damage to the bridge before they can get it repaired. So that's the purpose of that. Those items would be removed once they did the work or do the work in the spring, and those repairs have been made. I think we can speak with confidence that the closure won't be in the beginning of March as originally discussed. It's probably going to be later in the spring versus March 1. But the county doesn't have a contractor in place currently. So I think that they wanted to wait until they had a contractor in place and confirm with them the construction schedule. But they understand that the toll bridge kind of acts as a detour route. So they want to work, and they're willing to work with us as far as the closure date to make sure that we're in a good enough of a position to make sure that the toll bridge is under our control, and we're able to utilize that to satisfy the important things that we need to satisfy as far as traffic goes. So I just wanted to clear up, what the purpose of that reduction of the speed limit is. That's not permanent. That's short term until they get those repairs done, and then the speed bumps are basically to keep people honest with the speed limit. So
I have something I'm just going to read. They asked if I would just read this too. I summarized it, but also, Derek, I think it's important that if the purchase of the bridge is delayed, it actually benefits us for a couple of items that we have going, and that it's important that Wayne County stated they would work with us, which I think is excellent. I think these moves are great, and with our relationship now with Wayne County, they don't have to. It's nice that they work with us. They don't have to, but a couple of the issues like the legislation issue, and when we sign the final paperwork to purchase the bridge, it's in our advantage. Not the longer the repair I'm talking about delaying it a few weeks. It's actually to our advantage. So let me just read this to the people. I told them I would do this just to make sure we're 100% on. In advance of necessary maintenance of the Grosse Hill Parkway Bridge, the Wayne County Department of Public Services will implement several safety measures in the coming weeks. To support the upcoming repairs, the speed limit of the Grosse Hill Bridge will be lowered from 35 miles per hour to 25 on both sides of the bridge. Speed bumps will be installed along the roads leading to the bridge. Entrances to reduce the speed at which vehicles approach the bridge. So again, not on the bridge, but only from the approaches. Additionally, regular speed checks will be conducted to ensure compliance with the new speed limit. What I'm going to tell you is that both departments will be asked if they could keep an eye on the bridge. What I'm talking about is the police departments. So just be aware of that. So please adhere to those speed limits. These temporary measures will remain in place until the start of the bridge repair work, which is expected in the spring of 2025. The bridge will be closed during repairs, which are anticipated and last approximately 8 weeks. The upcoming repairs are essential to maintaining a long-term integrity of the structure. For more information, you can contact the 24-hour customer service or www.waynecounty.com. So that's about it, unless, Derek, you have anything else?
that notice will be going on our website. I just emailed it to you, Brian. We got it today at 4:30. And then also we'll do a push and Facebook and all that. Get it out to the residents the best we can.
And I do have one more Wayne County issue, and I'm done. Okay, the issue, we received numerous phone calls, and I obviously went out there myself. I drive it every day. There is a large bump at the construction site now that it's finished at Meridian and Ferry. The bump is southbound, and it's a bump. There's no messing around. That's a bump. I had our engineers go look at it. The tolerance to that, they believe, is definitely off. They are now in dialogue with Wayne County to try and remedy this issue, and hopefully that way there will be no legal issues. So the bottom line is you have to remember that we don't own that bridge that goes over Meridian. We don't own that road. We don't own the intersection. We don't own the lights. It's Wayne County's. It's Wayne County's subcontractor that did that. So there is a conundrum there for us, if you will, to make them do this. So we are working with the county, and they are definitely working with our engineer itself from Rains Engineering. And Sohail, who's the president of Rains, gave me a phone call just last week and stated that they are once again in dialogue, if you will, and we'll keep you updated on that and see what we have to do to get that repaired, because I mean, that's not a bump. It's a ride. I think it's fun. And really? Is that what you young kids say?
No, I
Okay.
have low profile.
All right. Well,
tires.
anyway,
It takes a beating.
we're going to have to get this taken care of. I know it is what it is, but I just want to say we did leaps and bounds with the county now. I'm very happy with that, and I think moving forward, we're going to get some things done. So, anything else? My report is done. We have public comment. If there's anybody, Brian, you said there's no emails, correct? No emails came in? Okay, one? Oh. Oh, none, okay. Anybody from the audience have, Greg, come on up. You know the program, hold on there, buddy. I gotta get, all right. Anytime you're ready.
Am I on a strict timer now?
You're on it now, buddy. Time is money, let's go.
Greg Carmen, 21228 East River. Just wanted to follow up on Supervisor
Microphone?
Turn on your mic.
There we go. Does that get you tucked?
No, you can, no, we're starting over. Way to go. Way to go, Kevin. He gets to
All right.
start over.
No problem.
Go ahead.
I wanted to follow up on Supervisor Porcerelli's comments about the Wayne County Bridge. First of all, commend you and Township Manager Derek Thiel for meeting with the county and engaging with them, and I certainly applaud your desire to have a positive relationship with Wayne County, and you know, certainly, as you point out, it is entirely their bridge. The Parkway Bridge is entirely theirs. However, obviously the impact is entirely on almost entirely on Grosse. I mean, certainly Trenton and surrounding downriver communities are affected, and we have a big interest in that. But I do think you've got a positive view towards working with Wayne County, and I applaud that. That said, I will say that I just have to point out that I believe when you were a trustee, Porcerelli, last year and maybe at least a year before that, I believe that you were asking the county to reduce that speed limit from 35 to 25 or even lower. And it's interesting that there's now, maybe it's the new personnel at Wayne County that have come to a different conclusion, but as Mr. Thiel pointed out, the concern apparently is that the speed does have some impact on deterioration of the bridge. And it's interesting that previously when you brought this issue up, you received a different opinion from Wayne County. So, you know, just I think it shows the value of the township officials being very proactive and involved. And I will say too, that trustee Margaret Shelton and, her comments about the county in the past, trying to highlight the need for the county to be open and transparent has, I think, been helpful. I think, I hope this new attitude that you're talking about will take hold. And I also would point out that Treasurer Flavin also in his past has had some involvement in highlighting the need of Wayne County to be more open and transparent about the county bridge. So, but I think it's this attitude of wanting to be positive engagement with the county, but also being ready to point out, where they could do better, that I think is going to work best for the community long term. And I'm glad to hear this. Yeah, thank you.
Under 3 minutes. Greg? You still had some more time. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, is there anything else you got for me or others? Or Teresa, did you have something? Oh, no, you ready to go? All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second? Second. Kevin? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.